Mill Parkway House and Papa John's. Thank you guys so much. Back to the segment. Let's talk about the Southern Piedmont 1A. Tell me what you know.
Conference.
Tell me what you know. It's Thomas Jefferson, Cherryville, Bessemer City,
Community School of Davison, Highland Tech, and Pine Lake Prep.
So two unknowns definitely with Community School and Pine Lake Prep. Thomas Jefferson, they've been almost the cream of
Cherryville, to me, this year, I got to put Thomas Jefferson in there and Bessemer City. I still think this is a league that is up for grabs. You got Thomas Jefferson in their sixth year from 2009, 15-42 on the year. Very competitive last year in the 1A ranks.
And made the playoffs.
Yes, they did. Pine Lake Prep, their second year, they're 0-10 last year. And you got to, and you know as well as I do, Sam, some of these schools like a Pine Lake Prep, you got to question on who they pick up for the next year. And
a lot has to do with those private schools. A lot has to do with their budget and who they can recruit.
Yes,
and who moves
I hate
down
to say
from
it
New
that
Jersey.
way, but that's how it goes.
That's true.
And Highland Tech comes in here. I heard they only had like 18 guys that come out for the football squad, so that's very tough. Even you got a team together.
How do you field a team with 18 kids?
A lot of guys going both ways, and that's a very long season.
Oh Lord, well,
but
don't have any mamas complaining about my boys not playing.
You're exactly right. And we just shift on over to Community School of Davison in their fourth year in the league, 5-19 overall. Another team that they're another team I would tell about like a Pine Lake Prep.
Right.
I kind of look at them and I'm kind of questioning on seeing them for the first time because they gave a few schools a couple hard games last year, but they did not come out on top. And then the two teams I put at the top is on account of besides Thomas Jefferson, Cherryville and Bessemer City. These two teams played twice last year. Cherryville won the first game, Bessemer City won the first game, then Cherryville come back and won at the end to win the title. But these two teams, I think, will be the cream of the crop. Kind of hard for me to say because, like I said, this is a 1A, and it's for me to pick one team to win this one, and I'm just going to be honest. I'm sitting here fiddle farting around, but it's kind of hard to pick one team.
Well, I think you've got a just like last year. You've got a three-team race between Bessemer City, Cherryville, and Thomas Jefferson. Last year, I think everybody agreed that Cherryville kind of underachieved most of the season, although they were able to pull out the win at the end. Bessemer City kind of rose a little higher than most thought, and Thomas Jefferson, always an unknown coming out of Rutherford County. They're not a private school. They're a charter school, but they do have some talent over there, and they've proven that the last couple of years with winning records. They have,
and another team in another conference that's going to be just up for grabs.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say.
It's going to be a fun one to watch unfold as the year goes along, and we'll learn more about that conference and those teams as we go through.
It is.
All right, let's move on to the South Mountain Athletic Conference. This is a conference that's near and dear to my heart. I've seen a lot of these teams play over the years, and I think we're going to have a shootout this year. Last year, it was more of a three-team shootout with Burns, Crest, and Shelby. This year, Burns predicted to be down some, so Shelby and Crest should really have a great shootout, and they play the last game of the regular season to settle that conference. Both of them highly ranked in the state. If I'm not mistaken, Crest is up there at number 2 in the 3A ranking. Shelby is the number 1 2A ranked team in the state. So you've got some real power coming out of that conference.
Yes, we do. And, when I mentioned to you and when you sent me a thing saying Crest looks pretty good, and
right.
And I'm like anybody, when you start the year, and I tell a lot of people this, in black and white, you look very good right now.
Right.
Can you hit the field and be the same team when it all starts?
That's true.
And tonight's going to be one of them nights with the heat. Can you get by without a lot of you guys coming down with cramps and different things to happen tonight? Are they hydrated enough? Coaches can only go so far to put that into them.
Right.
When these guys leave practice, they still have to be doing the same thing.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come back and finish up on the South Mountain Athletic Conference breakdown. So stick around. Terry Reinhardt, Sam Davis on the KTC pregame show.
Your sports leader is Big O Country, 1390 AM WOHS in Shelby, 1590 AM WCSL, Cherryville, Gastonia, 1050 AM WLON Lincoln, and online at ktcbroadcasting.com. Since 1986, Witherspoon Insurance Agency in Shelby has been serving families across Shelby and Cleveland County. And today, Wayne Witherspoon continues the tradition of bringing you the best insurance at the best possible price with names like the Hartford, Safeco, Progressive, National General Insurance, and Travelers. Drop by their office at 125 North Lafayette Street in Shelby and talk with one of their friendly hometown agents. Witherspoon Insurance Agency, your independent insurance agency since 1986. The Bargain Station Outlet in Shelby. Planning to travel this year? Then come see the big line of luggage. Need small appliances for the kitchen? They've got that too. How about toys for the kids? They've got a big stock of toys, plus jewelry and watches too. Like we said, they've got it all at the Bargain Station Name Brand Outlet. The Bargain Station Name Brand Outlet, located at 4400 East Dixon Boulevard in Shelby, right next to Honda Motorcycles. Open Tuesday through Saturday. Don't forget the name, the Bargain Station Name Brand Outlet.
Now you can rent to own your new carport from B&B Buildings in Cherryville, Denver, and Shelby. Come in for all the details. And 5% down delivers. Plus local financing is available on all units. And check out the selection of repos and factory price reductions. Old Hickory Buildings, new lofted barns, and now rent to own carports. At B&B Buildings, Highway 150 in Cherryville, Highway 74 East in Shelby, and Highway 16 in Denver.
This is Woody Durham for Tommy Hamrick Nationwide Insurance Agency in Shelby, where you get a team of experienced agents all working for the nationwide team. And of course, there's Tommy, a former Tar Heel athlete and UNC graduate. When it comes time for the insurance you need for your home, auto, business, and life, go see the winning team at Tommy Hamrick Nationwide Insurance Agency, your exclusive, on-your-side certified agency, located at the corner of Gidney and South DeKalb Streets in Shelby.
Soulful Southern fare with a flair. That's Smoke on the Square in Uptown Shelby. Come on in for lunch, where you'll find your favorite soups and salads, plus local favorites including smokehouse shrimp and grits, barbecue, hamburger steaks, and tacos, plus a big menu of smokehouse burgers and sandwiches. Or better yet, create your combo, mix and match for just $5.99. For a full menu, visit them online at smokeonthesquare.com. Smoke on the Square, the Southern Low Country cuisine and steakhouse. 5 East Marion Street, Uptown Shelby. It's the 90th Annual Cleveland County Fair, September 25th through October 5th. Make plans now to be there. On the Midway, it's pig racing, Leon Jacobs, Act Monsters Chainsaw Demonstration, the Tumbleweed Crossing Wild West Show, and on the grandstand, it's the Demolition Derby and much more. So join us for the fun, the 90th Annual Cleveland County Fair, September 25th through October 5th. The Cleveland County Fair at the Cleveland County Fairgrounds. Since 1986, Witherspoon Insurance Agency in Shelby has been serving families across Shelby and Cleveland County. And today, Wayne Witherspoon continues the tradition of bringing you the best insurance at the best possible price with names like the Hartford, Safeco, Progressive, National General Insurance, and Travelers. Drop by their office at 125 North Lafayette Street in Shelby and talk with one of their friendly hometown agents. Witherspoon Insurance Agency, your independent insurance agency since 1986.
And welcome back to the KTC Broadcasting pregame show sponsored by Witherspoon Insurance. If you get a chance, if you're over in Shelby, stop by and see Wayne Witherspoon on Lafayette Street. Witherspoon Insurance. Thanks again, Wayne, for sponsoring our show. Wayne has been doing it now for several years, and we really, really appreciate the support. Terry, do you know Wayne?
No, I do not.
You need to stop by Shelby sometime and say hey, and thank you.
Well, anytime I need to say thank you, because without all of our sponsors, Sam, we would not be on
we'd
there.
be sitting home
and
looking
without
for something
Kevin
to do.
and Calvin helping us. Whew.
Yeah, a lot of crew on hand to make this happen. Besides the sponsor, Steve Roberts, in studio.
Yes.
Oh, he gets excited when he hears his name. As our in studio engineer, Josh Collins, formerly of the East Lincoln broadcast team last year, is in the house tonight, helping out any way he can. We appreciate those guys, and of course, Kevin Hastings, the proprietor, I guess, or Calvin Hastings, the proprietor. I'm not sure what Kevin's title is. He's the go for do everything kind of guy.
I don't know. I'm not going to say nothing.
So you're not going to make a joke
That's
about Kevin with him
no,
just in the next room?
No, he's
then?
just right over there.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about him off the air when he can't hear us. All right. Back to the South Mountain Athletic 2A, 3A Conference. I think it's obvious that Crest and Shelby will contend for the title, but the dark horse there, Kings Mountain, coming off a 2-9 year. A lot of injuries last year. This year they return a quarterback, Jonathan Bell, who threw for 1,700 yards last year, ran for another 700 or so, and they've got a returning receiver in Tico Crocker, a freshman running back that will be a sophomore this year that gained a lot of experience last year. If they can find a defense, they can put scare in a lot of teams.
They can, and I'm going to mention one thing about this conference as we go into it. I kind of went back all the way to 1999, and I tried to figure out what teams in North Carolina have the best records since then. And I'm just going back to 1999. Independence come out on top, which we understand that because they had a 109-game winning streak.
7-year streak.
Okay, but that was 184-31. Independence is coming into this year with 7 state titles. I kind of jumped over there and I said, okay, here's Shelby. Shelby comes in at 163, 53-1 with 3 state titles. You know, very impressive, not far behind an independent squad. And then Crest comes in right after that at 153-55 with 2 state titles. So when you speak of the football that we see in our area, it's some of the best that's in North Carolina.
Well, as evidenced by the state championships last year, 2 teams from this county in the title. South Point was a favorite to be in one of the title games and didn't make it. So we had 3 teams that had made it to the state championships. East Lincoln, in my heart, was one of the best teams out there. They should have been there. So there's awesome talent in this area, awesome teams, awesome coaching, and year after year, there seems like over the last 11 or 12 years, there has been a team from Cleveland, Gaston, or Lincoln in the state championships, I think almost every year during that span, if not multiple teams.
Well, I know when you were speaking of Chris, and I'm going to jump over to Shelby for a second. We had Lance Ware in here the last week on our sports talk show on Saturday mornings, and I don't know whether anybody heard him, but the people that did, one of the biggest things that he said, yes, we do have a state championship, but we want a conference championship. These kids are so determined that they're going to win a conference championship somewhere on this line that they're here. You know, to me, that's impressive. When you've got kids, besides worrying about how many wins you got, hey, you know what? This year we're going to put that on our level for us to go get. That's huge.
Well, they're going to have to beat their biggest rival, Crest, to get that conference championship. Will. And any year you win a state title, if you lose to your biggest rival and finish second in your conference, there's always going to be that tainted feel to that title. You're always going to feel like, yeah, but we didn't beat that X team. And that's what they want. If they know if they can get that conference title and the state, it will be a complete.
Well, I always go back, and I still, when I had Chris Norman in here a few years back, and I asked him, Chris, you win a state title or win Cleveland County? And he kind of just stopped. He just looked at me and didn't say nothing for a while, and he said, you kind of put me on the spot. He says, because in Cleveland County, they want you to win Cleveland County, number 1. And then win the state title. Don't get me wrong; they'll take a state title every year if you never win it. But at that time, he did not know how to answer that because Cleveland County is huge in football.
Well, one thing I can say is the thought process over there is I've heard fans say, if we go 1-9, I'm okay as long as we beat Shelby or we beat Crest. He said that'll give the coach another year to figure it out. But as long as you beat your biggest rival. You can buy a few more years out there, but win a state title and not beat your rival, and there's a little stink to it somehow.
It is, and as you mentioned, this South Mountain Athletic Conference, we know Crest and Shelby's going to be at the top.
Right.
What other teams down through this list, and we mentioned one just a minute ago, do you think can compete? If we drop Burns out of it, can this be Kings Mountain year?
This can be. Kings Mountain is the dark horse. Burns is kind of the unknown with brand new head coach Rob Sensening. Burns comes in with a brand new quarterback, a sophomore Cameron Barbie. They've got a lot of new faces out there and an entirely new system. From what I've understood from some of the Burns fans, they looked like world beaters against Hickory in a Jamboree scrimmage, and then they looked terrible last week in the Jamboree. But the offensive line was where the issue was.
Yeah, but look who they were playing in that Jamboree.
That's true.
I mean, that's a huge difference. I mean, if you was playing, and I'm not going to mention names, somebody else, but when you're playing AC Reynolds, I mean, that's kind of a stout test for you to match up against.
And Reynolds blitzed on every single play, and that poor Cameron Barbie, he took such a beating. But it was a learning process. He's a sophomore, new coach, new system, new quarterback. A lot of new on that team. There's still some kids coming back. The offensive line is experienced. Once they figure out their blocking, I got a feeling that team's going to win more games than folks are giving them credit.
Well, ever since, and this has been years back, people always ask me who's going to win this conference. And I've took Kings Mountain year after year after year. Since 1999, they have won 72 games and lost 99 and tied 1.
And that's in, what, a 15-year period,
yes,
basically?
And I keep saying this is going to be the year. And Brandon Bell, I saw this kid when he first come in. He was lights out then. He's still lights out now. I just hope that he's got a lot more weapons behind him because, Kings Mountain, and this is just me, from their area, and I'm just going to be as blunt as I can be, he should be winning more games than what they're winning.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But again, they've had
a lot of injuries
every
last
year.
year.
It seems like it's either injuries or disciplinary problems. Greg Lloyd, head coach, has been over there now about 6-7 years,
Yes.
I guess, and it seems like he's had to contend with something almost every year. This year, they feel good about the year. If they can put a defense on the field that can make some stops, they feel like they've got enough offensive weapons to put some points on the board. So it's going to all fall on Mark Latham, the defensive coordinator's shoulders, to put that piece of the puzzle in there to make them a contender. Now, Terry, the rest of the conference, Rutherford County, East Rutherford, Chase, and RS Central. Last year, RS gave Crest a tough game till halftime as Crest pulled away, so RS showed some potential. East Rutherford always has some talent. They always have some athletes.
They're up and down.
And you never know with them from year to year if they're going to be good or not until the kids actually take the field. Chase, hard to say with them. Generally, I understand they're down this year. And then the other two players in the conference, Drawn and East Burke.
East Burke, Coach Tom Brown.
Tom Brown comes in, so we might just see East Burke begin to turn around in the next couple of years because now they've got a proven winner running that show.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. If you go back, Tom Brown knows how to win. 352 wins on his career, so he knows how to win, and he knows how to teach the game of football. East Burke, are they good enough to win in this conference? 1-7, 2-9 last year. Can they go and see? This might be a hunch for people, but people might say, "Can they go 3-8?" Okay, that would be great. You won 2 games last year. If you go 3-8 or 4-7,
I would say 4 to 5 wins this year would be.
You got to make a step up.
But you could see Tom Brown
year.
take this program. RS, Chase, East Rutherford, and Jerome. There's 4 right there that are up for picking, and then you never know about Burns and Kings Mountain. So we could see him really elevate that program this year into at least the middle of the conference. I mean, you got to understand that with some coaches in this world, Tommy Knotts has been at West Charlotte, Hardin, Independence, and now Dutch Fork. And he has won at every single one of those stops. He won titles at West Charlotte, Independence, and Dutch Fork, and he, I think, played for a title at Harding.
He did.
And since he left Harding and West Charlotte, those two schools have really struggled. So it's not always about the athletes as much as it's the coach and the system. Tommy Knotts is a proven winner. Different coaches go to different places. Mark Barnes over at Crest won year after year at Scotland County, and he's been winning since he got to Crest.
Matt Beam
won at North Lincoln. He came to Burns, he won. We're fixing to see how this legacy starts at Newton Conover. So, Tom Brown going to East Burke is the best thing that could have happened to that school.
I agree. The main thing is how long will he coach that he's there.
That's true. He's pretty old.
I mean, he's 71 years old.
So how much gas does he have in the tank? But if he gets him some good assistants, he's got the knowledge and the know-how to take that program and, again, elevate it in the next year or two to the middle of the pack, and who knows after that.
It is. And when you speak of coaches, I know the coach that's out of South Carolina from Summerville, and I can't think of his last name, Geskett or something. But anyway, this guy's 80-some years old.
And he's still coaching. Good Lord. 81's got the Dick Clark genome
So,
in him. He
that's
just
right.
never gets old. They just stay that way.
Got to continue.
Well, the last conference I want to go over before we get into the next segment and start talking about the individual games is the probably the most exciting conference last year, and it could be again this year, the Southern District 7-2A. Maiden, Lincolnton, East Lincoln. Those are three teams right there that are immediately come to mind when you start figuring out who's going to win this conference.
Well, we go into this, and I know East Lincoln lost a few people off their line, offense and defense. You still have Chaz Surratt. You still have Sage. They're still here. They haven't left. And a lot of people questioned that last year. Guess what? They're at East Lincoln. East Lincoln's going to be very strong. You drop down to Maiden. Maiden only lost 2 games. Guess what? They lost both games to East Lincoln. They lost in the regular season, and then they lost in the playoffs to East Lincoln. You drop to Lincoln, and here's a team that was up on East Lincoln at halftime, but then they got pulled away at the end. East Lincoln did to win this game. Bunker Hill lost a lot of talent from last year. I'm not questioning. I will. I'll question on how good they're going to be. They're going to run the ball. They're not going to change there. West Lincoln, Mac George. He's the running back. He's the guy that's going to do everything. He's the running back. He's their middle linebacker. You're going to be asking a lot out of him.
But you better have more than just one running back, because if you can't make a hole or tackle somebody on the other side of the ball, that poor kid's going to get beat to death. But if he's got a little bit of a line to help him and some other weapons, they've got a chance to make some noise in the middle of the pack.
They do, and they've got a lot of their offensive linemen back from last year. So West Lincoln, people looking at it 3-4, 7-5 last year. What can they do this year? A lot of people's got them predicted next to last. They got West Caldwell last, and then West Lincoln right above them. We'll see. Bandies. A team that I think played a lot of close games last year. They finished 3-4, 5-7. Could have beat East Lincoln, led them in the second half. East Lincoln comes back to win. They led Lincoln in a close game. Could have won that game. So this is a team that's on the verge of going, to the upper part of this league.
Several years ago, Bandy was winning some state titles.
Oh, yes.
And so they're a program that knows how to win. They were close last year, so there's a team we need to keep an eye on this year. This could be a breakout year for Bandies.
And then on the other hand, the only other team we haven't mentioned is Newton Conover. Matt Beam. This is a team that's 1-6, 2-9. I'm going to tell you as I'm sitting here, don't expect 2-9.
No, I would say minimum 5 wins, probably more like 7.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. At least 7-4, 6-5, and we might be undercutting him a lot by even saying that.
Well, he started last year or several years ago with Burns and went 0-4 to start the season, but went on a 5-1 stretch down the stretch, beat Shelby, and were co-champions, I believe, that year. We're going to take a quick break. That's going to do it for the Southern District 7-2A. We're going to come back after this break and talk about individual games for tonight. So stick around on the KTCBroadcasting.com pregame show, sponsored by Witherspoon Insurance.
Since 1986, Witherspoon Insurance Agency in Shelby has been serving families across Shelby and Cleveland County. And today, Wayne Witherspoon continues the tradition of bringing you the best insurance at the best possible price with names like the Hartford, Safeco, Progressive, National General Insurance, and Travelers. Drop by their office at 125 North Lafayette Street in Shelby and talk with one of their friendly hometown agents. Witherspoon Insurance Agency, your independent insurance agency since 1986. When it comes to auto parts, see the girls at Standridge Auto Parts in Shelby. They offer a variety of domestic and foreign used auto parts and truck parts, and they can ship right to your door. See them for all of your automotive needs, and they buy junk cars. Get cash right on the spot. And held over the Interstate Battery sale. Get your Interstate Battery for just $45 with your exchange, and they come with a 1-year warranty. Pay with PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. Standridge Auto Parts, 1521 Sulphur Springs Road in Shelby, serving this area since 1972. Online at StandridgeAutoParts.com. Check out the new storage buildings at the Roundup store in Shelby. Come see the new vinyl siding storage building and the new T111 wooden siding building. And the Roundup store's wooden buildings are built to last and last. And check out their line of beautiful kitchen cabinets. Make your dream kitchen a reality. The Roundup store, 1610 East Dixon Boulevard in Shelby. Open 8:30 till 5:30 Monday through Friday, 8:30 till noon on Saturday. Online at roundupshelby.com. Want to cut your cooling costs this summer? With a highly efficient York air conditioning system, you can save up to 50% on energy costs while enjoying more consistent temperatures throughout your home. Call Settle Heating and Air, your local York dealer, at 704-481-1788 and schedule a free evaluation of your system and learn how you can move up to a new level of comfort and efficiency this summer. Call Settle Heating and Air and settle in with comfort this summer, or visit the website at settleinwithcomfort.com.
Hi, this is Woody Durham for Mark Dedman's Carolina Trophies in Shelby. Through the years, I've seen a lot of trophies and plaques, and none appear nicer than those which come from Mark Dedman's Carolina Trophies. Their guarantee is not just a guarantee, but a promise for courteous service, the absolute lowest price, quality products, on-time delivery, and most of all, your satisfaction. Awards for all occasions, plus rubber stamps and engraving. That's Mark Dedman's Carolina Trophies in Shelby.
The easiest way home is with Homestar Financial Corporation in Shelby. Bob Webb invites you to come in and talk with one of their financial specialists about your new home, from conventional loans to FHA to VA and to USDA. And all loan programs are available to qualified buyers. Homestar Financial manages the entire mortgage process with outstanding customer service that produces a high level of customer satisfaction. Find out more today. Visit Homestar Financial Corporation, 306 East Dixon Boulevard in Shelby, or call 704-482-2588.
Baseball players rely on lots of coaches. First base, third base, pitching, and catching. But when it comes to insurance, you only need one coach, an Allstate agent. They'll help you with your insurance game plan. Plus, Allstate agents can bundle your coverage for your car, apartment, boat, motorcycle, and more. So you've got all your bases covered. Are you in good hands?
Your local Allstate agency is the Chris McDaniel Allstate Insurance Agency, 404 Cherryville Road, across from the YMCA in Shelby. Call 704-484-3463.
And welcome back to the KTC Broadcasting pregame show, brought to you by Witherspoon Insurance. Sam Davis, along with Terry Reinhardt, here bringing you all the information you need to know before you go to the ballpark tonight. Terry, let's go over the breakdown tonight for the KTC Broadcasting schedule for Week 1. On the video end of it, Gaston County Game of the Week, Kings Mountain travels to Hunter Huss. Derek Smith and Daniel Howe will bring you all that action. Lincoln County Game of the Week, Lincolnton at North Lincoln. David Keever and Rick Mitchum will bring you all that action. The Crest coverage, and KTC Broadcasting will cover every Crest, Shelby, and Burns game this year. The Crest coverage will be brought to you by Rob Root, Tim Foster, and Andy Foster, as always. Polk County travels to Shelby tonight. Brent Pasco and Jeff Jones, former coach Jeff Jones, will bring you that action. And tonight, Burns head coach Rob Cincinnati makes his debut against a tough opponent, Ashbrook. And Calvin Hastings and Dan Greer will bring you all that action. And, Terry, what have we got on the radio?
On the radio on WOHS 1390 AM, Polk County at Shelby, Brent Pasco and Jeff Jones. WCSL 1590 AM, Bunker Hill at Cherryville with Milton Baker and Danny Aker. And WLON 1050 AM, Lincoln at North Lincoln with David Keever and Rick Mitchell. And again, I don't want to forget our pregame meal for us today was the Parkway House, the family restaurant. If you need to order from there, 704-769-8055. They open Monday through Friday starting at 6 a.m., Saturday at 7 a.m., open 7 days a week. And we want to thank the pregame Parkway House for our pregame meal.
Yeah, very much so. Thank them for the pregame meal. We really appreciate that. And when you get a chance, stop in, grab something to eat, tell them thank you for sponsoring the KTC Broadcasting pregame show. And don't forget also, after the games tonight, when the first game on the schedule ends, they will, I'm assuming, at that point go into the postgame show. The Ronaldo Auto Mall postgame show starring Dennis Davis, Tom Centofanti, Terry Reinhardt, with special guest appearances by Lewis Carpenter.
A team that does a great job.
And this show has been on for, 20 years, 15,
as
18,
a matter of fact,
20 years?
To tell you the truth, as we're sitting here right now, it's been on for 20 years.
20 years. So
me and Calvin got together, and it's been way back. Calvin furnished everything, and then he asked me, did I want to do it? I was in here on the first day, and I'm going to be honest with you, the first time we did it was a disaster. But it got better.
Well, I remember one year you did it from a restaurant in Shelby, and that
Yes,
was a
we did.
disaster. What was the name of that restaurant? A little steakhouse or something. I can't remember. That didn't work out too good because of lack of a signal
Yes.
and people talking, and it just you were off in a corner somewhere. But
as we come into this year, this is year number 20.
they've got it down to an art and a science now. Steve Roberts with us in the booth. Josh Collins also helping out tonight. All right, Terry, let's get into the game schedule. The top game on our schedule tonight, and it would be our game of the week. Crest travels over to South Point. Crest, number 2 in the state 3A polls. South Point, number 6 in the state 3A polls. And these are the NC Preps preseason state poll. The AP doesn't come out with a poll, I guess, till next week sometime.
That's next week that they do.
But Crest coming off a 14-2 year for which they played for a state championship and lost. South Point coming off a 13-1 year last year. 2 dominant programs playing their final game in this series, an 8-year series, I believe it's been.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if I was Crest and I walked into my locker room, this is what I'd have up on my wall. 2011, 42-21. 2012, 42-24. 2012 playoffs, 46-33. 2013, 35-16. Games that South Point dominated and pulled away to win pretty easily in each one of the games. South Point has won the last 8. South Point leads the all-time series 20-10.
Well, and it comes down to defense. Crest has got to find a defense if they want to have a chance to beat South Point. And 40-40, 40-35 in the last 4 games against each other. So you've got right there, that's the key to success. Score points to win, but more importantly, find a way to stop the South Point's triple option.
It is. And can you do that? A lot of teams before you have tried.
And actually, in the last, 4 years, only 4 teams have been able to beat them. I think they've lost 1 game in each of the last 4 years, and each one of those has been in the playoffs.
In the playoffs. You have got
somebody out there has figured out. I've talked to the coach over at Crest. I said, did y'all get film of last year's team that beat them? And he said, no. I said, well, you should. They figured it out. How they did it, but or does South Point underachieve when the playoff comes around? I don't understand it. They can be so dominant for 11, 12, 13 games, and then somebody figures them out. I just don't understand.
Well, I look at this game, and you're going to face the same thing no matter when you play them.
Right.
10 years ago, 5 years ago, today. It's going to be the same thing.
And there's no trick plays. There's no secret. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
Your
now you just got to figure out how to
read
stop
their
it.
spots.
Right.
And it's so huge to have to do, but can you stop them? A lot of teams have tried. A lot of teams have come away with L's. So Crest, again, here's what we said before. They look good in black and white.
On paper.
Okay, can you stick them out there and say, okay, here's your first challenge, South Point?
Well, when the bullets start flying, that's when you find out about kids. They can look great in 7-on-7s. They can look great on summer workouts. But when the bullets start flying and people are in your face, chasing you, blocking you, tackling you, that's when you truly find out about a kid. Can he play at that level? And this game, folks, these guys have butted heads now for about 8 or 12 years.
Yes.
And they have really gone after it. Crest won some games early in the series back in we're at 2004, so this is we're at 14. So this is like 2003, 4, 5, 6, along in there. Crest was dominating that series, and then somewhere along the line, South Point figured out how to beat Crest, and Crest hadn't figured out how to stop that. Crest, though, returns this year with Trey Harbison, and preseason All-State pick at running back. They've got Dominique Roseborough back in the defensive backfield and part-time running back, coming off an ACL injury last year. He missed the entire season. They say he's healthy, ready to go. The Crest defense returns 9 starters from last year. Now, granted, that's 9 that gave up 35 against South Point, but more maturity, more experience, more strength, more speed should equal a little better effort this year.
I do want to mention at this time we will be leaving.
Oh, that's a good point. And for all you Crest fans, Steve Roberts will be breaking the little circuit for Crest and be sending the pregame show over to the Crest Stadium, over to South Point, where Rob Roop, Andy, and Tim will be bringing you their pregame show starting at 6:30. Good point there.
I just thought I'd get that in when I saw the clock.
But back to South Point now. We've talked a little bit about Crest. Crest returning 9 starters and a bunch. Their offensive line's all back. They do come in with a new quarterback with Burns transfer, Willie Green. new receivers, but they've got some good talent. What we're hearing, a lot of excitement in the Crest community about this team this year. South Point, on the other hand, they're bringing back all-state defensive back Tanner Muse, a Clemson signee. Kid's like 6'3" and runs like a deer. Quarterback Jaquan Brooks threw for what, 15, 18, 1,900 yards?
Very
I mean,
tough to
ran
stop.
for 15, 1,800 yards last year and threw for another 6 or 7. So he's going to be the key that makes that engine run.
Well, I mean, it's the red bone, and if you can stop it, Crest, here's you another opportunity. I just hate this game one. I wish this was a game that was later in the year. But, I mean, we've got a lot of huge games tonight. This one right here, Crest South Point, you got a A.L. Brown Concord getting ready to play tonight. A lot of games that have been moved up on account of the conferences that they have went into now.
Right.
So, very huge to start the year, Crest and South
mentioned in
Point.
that A.L. Concord game, that's one of the biggest rivalries in the state and
It
has
is.
been for like 50 years. Crest Shelby is a big rivalry. Richmond, Scotland County, big rivalry. The Charlotte rivalries tend to adjust. Butler, Indy was a big rivalry for years. Now Mallard Creek. But that A.L. Brown Concord rivalry is just humongous.
Battle for the bell over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Concord leads that series 42-38-4.
Well, South Point is replacing basically their entire offensive line and entire defensive line, 2 all-conference linebackers that were absolute beasts last year. So they're going to be putting a lot of new people in. Crest returns a lot of talent from last year. Terry, what's your prediction on this one?
Well, I went out and I took Crest. I think this is the year, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people are going to say, well, he picks Crest every time they play them. And I have. I'm not even going to sit here and say no, but I have. And I think this should be the year that all this changes. And me and a lot of the people that is on DK Sports Talk picked Crest to win this game.
Well, I think Crest should be the favorite based on those things, but just that red bone offense makes this more of a toss-up for me.
It does.
But you say last year you picked Crest. I picked Crest last year because I thought catching South Point in the first game of the year before they got their mechanics and timing down would be a big plus for them, but South Point was returning their quarterback, Bray, the running back, DeAndre King, their wing back, and another. They had all their key players back. They just had to get the blocking, and they did.
Well, it's like we talked about before. South Point, all they got to do is look at what the predictions were for this year, and they're going to say, Ashbrook, hey, guys, we're going to show you different.
Yeah, they've got something to work towards,
Yes.
absolutely. Well, our next top game of the week is Polk County travels over to Shelby to take on the defending 2A champs. Polk County finished last year at 9-4, Shelby 12-4, and went on a big string of wins down the stretch and just pounded every 2A team they faced. Polk County, another smaller ranked team.
It is.
I saw Polk County in the Jamboree. They seem to be down this year, but we'll find out more about Polk County tonight.
I don't think Polk County has a prayer.
I don't either, honestly.
And I'm just going to be honest with you. I think that you're getting ready to come into a place and you're going to be hitting that bus heading back home real quick because Shelby, to me, they're down. I don't think they're as good as they was last year.
Right.
But when you got R.J. George back there and the athletes that he has around him, he's going to make them better.
Well, the Shelby defense has been rebuilt this year. They are so fast, so quick. They're not as big as they've been in years past, but they are so fast to the ball. So that defense is going to be hard to get around and get through. Their offense, they've got some really fast guys up there on offense. The quarterback, R.J. George, is just phenomenal. He set all the records last year at Shelby. He's the all-time leading passer for Shelby. He's probably the single-season passing leader for the Cleveland County based on that effort last year. And just to let you folks know again, Terry mentioned it 5 minutes ago, pregame show has started for the Crest game. It says at Crest Stadium, but they're at South Point.
They are at South Point.
But they started at 6:30 for their pregame show. But Shelby, it's kind of hard not to boast about him because, geez, coming off a 2A title with your all-state quarterback coming back, a slew of running backs. They just always have 5, 6 kids that can give the ball to. Chad Reed is an exciting kid. They can give him the ball. Yes. They've got speed everywhere. The only thing they don't have right now is a lot of size. Teams that are power running teams might be able to move the ball on them.
Well, when I look at Shelby, I kind of put them in the same emphasis as Lincoln. You might not be big, but you're very fast.
Oh, man.
And when I look at games like this, I think of Lincoln in a few years back when they played South Point and they defeated them. South Point was 2 times as big as Lincoln was.
Yep.
But Lincoln speed, it wouldn't be one guy hitting you. It was 4 or 5 guys hitting you at one time. And when you've got that much speed, they're going to be able to cover up a lot. So, Shelby, I think is going to be fantastic. Speed-wise, they're okay.
Well, they're not going to have many real competition until they get to South Point here in a week or two,
Yes.
and then the Crest game towards the end of the year. We're going to take a quick break and come back and discuss some somewhat interesting games for the night, so stick around.
Since 1986, Witherspoon Insurance Agency in Shelby has been serving families across Shelby and Cleveland County. And today, Wayne Witherspoon continues the tradition of bringing you the best insurance at the best possible price with names like the Hartford, Safeco, Progressive, National General Insurance, and Travelers. Drop by their office at 125 North Lafayette Street in Shelby and talk with one of their friendly hometown agents. Witherspoon Insurance Agency, your independent insurance agency since 1986.
Inlow Mortuary is in its 90th year providing sympathetic, efficient services to the families of the Shelby area. Inlow's is committed to these families to make sure their arrangements are handled in the most professional, caring way. The folks at Inlow's believe the quality of their service, personal touch, and the little things they do add up to the family's satisfaction. Inlow's staff is available anytime to assist you in any way they can. Inlow Mortuary, 231 North Lafayette Street, in Shelby.
The Transportation Administration of Cleveland County and Cleveland County Transit would like to take this time to remind everyone that drugs like marijuana, alcohol, prescription drugs, and inhalants are the drugs of choice among our teens. They break hearts, break homes, and destroy childhood dreams. It's not just someone else's child, it could be yours. If you're not talking to your children about drugs, doesn't it make you wonder who is? TAC and Cleveland County Transit would like to wish all of our Cleveland County school athletic teams good luck this year.
Save money at the Oris Supermarket and Broad River Hams in Shelby. Voted the best meat market 4 years running. If it's produce you're looking for, it's produce they've got. Be sure to visit their open-air market. You'll find local muscadines and scupper dogs, along with russet potatoes, homegrown tomatoes, and much more. And pick up a back-to-school bundle, 2 pounds of liver mush, 2 pounds of sausage, and 2 dozen large white eggs for only $12.99. The Oris Supermarket and Broad River Ham, 1026 East Marion Street in Shelby. Open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Nissan. Those are the powerhouse of vehicles you'll find at Marburger in Shelby. Plus quality pre-owned cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. And of course, a service department that is second to no one. So when you're in need of a new vehicle, see Marburger at 1310 East Dixon Boulevard in Shelby. The J. Morgan Company is proud of our Cleveland County high schools, Burns, Crest, Kings Mountain, and Shelby, and wishes all of our local high school athletes good luck. Whether it be football, cross country, tennis, soccer, basketball, volleyball, swimming, wrestling, track, golf, softball, or baseball, best wishes for a good season. Take the discipline, integrity, sportsmanship, and winning spirit you learn participating in your sport and use this to be successful and happy for the rest of your life. And fans, go out and support these student athletes by being in attendance at their games.
Service. That's hard to find when it comes to lawn and garden equipment. Not anymore. Head to Parker Farm Service in Kings Mountain. Parker Farm Service services all major brands, makes, and models. Call Mary McHenry to set up your appointment at 704-259-6130. And Parker Farm Service welcomes Kenny Barbie to their service department. 24-hour turnaround with in-house parts, plus delivery and pickup is available. Parker Farm Service on Bessie Drive at the Highway 74 bypass, Oak Grove Road intersection in Kings Mountain.
And me and you moving around. If it was just radio, it would be okay. But holy moly, we got
I don't
video
know,
now.
especially on the back of this table here. I mean, we don't have much room to move, so that might not be too pretty.
Welcome back to the KTC Broadcasting Pregame Show, brought to you by Witherspoon Insurance. Sam Davis, along with Terry Reinhardt. We're winding down the show. We're going to be leaving you about 6:57 tonight, so about 16 more minutes. Maybe one more break in there somewhere along the way. We're going to finish up with the somewhat interesting games. We've talked about the Burns-Ashbrook a little bit, but Burns, young, new, Ashbrook, experienced, talented. Terry, Ashbrook, easily?
I'm going to say yes. New coach, a lot of new people, and I will say that because, I've heard they've had some students that's left, lost a lot of talent from last year.
Right, 18 seniors graduated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Quarterback Austin Mitchell, I think, should have a pretty easy game. I'm going to say at least Ashbrook by 20.
Okay, I think that's a fair adjustment. And Burns, again, being a little bit of an unknown, they played A.C. Reynolds scoreless for the first quarter last week, but A.C. Reynolds lost 3 fumbles, or 2 fumbles and an interception. So a lot of that was A.C. Reynolds shooting herself in the foot, but the Burns defense did scramble. They did play hard. They did keep the game close till about the last, I think it's 3 minutes 41 to go or 4 minutes to go when A.C. Reynolds did finally come through and score. So the Burns defense might be better than we're giving them credit, and if the O-line comes around and actually learns how to block people, then they could make some noise, and this one here tonight could be closer than both of us think.
Well, I mean, we speak of it every year. If your defense is decent, then you can be in every game.
Right.
But you're going to have to score. So.
But if I was throwing money on the table, it'd be for Ashbrook. And
Well,
if I had to pick
too.
a point spread, I would say at least 14 points, 14 to 20. But, again, Burns, a little bit of an unknown with all the new coaches and system. Kings Mountain will travel over to Hunter Huss. We've talked about Kings Mountain being young. Jonathan Bale returning as for his senior year at quarterback. Tico Crocker at wide receiver. The McLean kid, a sophomore running back who showed last year he could run the ball pretty good until he got hurt. If they find a defense, they should be favored. Hunter Huss coming off a 6-8 year that they went 3 weeks deep in the playoffs, but they rode the shoulders of that running back.
They did a lot, and this year I'm looking for this game. I really predict this game to be very close. I got Kings Mountain winning by 7.
All right. Well, I would have said Kings Mountain also. I think Huss has got some talent. They've got a quarterback that can throw the ball. They've got a middle linebacker that had like 120 tackles last year. So they've got some talent coming back for this new head coach. Steve Gardner didn't leave the whole cupboard empty.
He did not.
But this could be a pick-em game, but we'll find out more about Kings Mountain's youth. Will it emerge? Will the new coach at Hunter Huss bring a new attitude and a winning attitude there? Forest View travels to Nation Ford, and I think you'd both agree Nation Ford and unknown. We have no clue. I have no clue about Nation Ford, but we do know Forest View has some kids returning that can play.
Well, they do, but as far as Nations Ford, we do remember last year's game. Excuse me. Was 57-56. Over 1,000 yards of total offense in this game was on the field. Nation Ford leads this all-time series 5-2. And here it goes again. I'm taking Nations Ford by 14.
Well, I agree that Nation Ford, first of all, they're a South Carolina team, so that gives them an advantage to start with.
Well, you hate to say that, but it does.
Last year with Forest View, with Logan Bradley, all the talent they had, the receivers, they scored 56 points, but you still gave up 57.
Yes.
And now maybe your defense is better than last year. Probably not. Now you're going to go play a 5-4 Nation Ford team again. But I think just by virtue of being a South Carolina team gives them an advantage. New quarterback at Forest View, although mobile and athletic, he's going to really start to see the bullets fly tonight against Nation Ford. So I think we're both in agreement there that Nation Ford's probably the favorite there, only because of the South Carolina aspect and last year's result.
Yes.
All right, Newton Conover travels over to Chase. Matt Beam starts rebuilding a Newton Conover team that finished 2-9 last year. The Newton Conover fans were not happy with last year's result. They've won state titles. They've got a lot of pride in that community, and now Matt Beam steps in over there after winning at North Lincoln and winning at Burns, and now he's going to take over the reins for Newton Conover against a Chase team that I think Chase beat them last year, Newton Conover.
They
but
have.
Chase is, from what I've been reading in the paper in Rutherford County, they're down this year. They're really struggling to try to find their identity. Matt Beam, hard to pick against Matt Beam.
Well, I would say the same thing. This is a coach that is 81-37 through his 9 years. Quarterback Cameron Stanley's coming up for him to lead this attack. And again, I thought Newton Conover would defeat them last year. Chase has won the last 4. They've won 6 out of the last 10 in this series. So, but I think Matt Beam brings a whole new identity just from the coaching aspect of how he teaches his group. And I don't think there's one kid that's heading over to Chase tonight don't think they can win.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the thing about Matt Beam, and I've got to know Matt pretty well over the last few years working with him on some projects, Matt Beam brings something to a program that a lot of coaches don't. He brings an excitement, and he brings a desire to win and overachieve. He won the South Mountain Atlantic Conference, or I guess it was called, called that before. But he won it the 3 years before Chris got there and beat Shelby 4 years in a row, and that says something just by itself.
Yes.
But he didn't necessarily have the best talent on the field, but he had emotion. He had those kids believing they could run through that wall and just go do it. You will do it, and they believed that. And they played for him, and the excitement in that community and on that sideline was amazing. The bomb they dropped, although some people hated that thing, thought it was disrespectful, I thought it was the coolest thing. It was a bonding thing that really bonded that team and that community.
I agree with you. I'm not going to say anything against that.
So Newton Conover picked by both you and I tonight to beat Chase handily. And our last somewhat interesting game that we're going to talk about, Thomas Jefferson will travel over to Stuart Cramer as Stuart Cramer makes their first varsity debut. They've played last year as a JV squad, and this year they will be a varsity team. So Stuart Cramer comes off a 0-0 year last year. Thomas Jefferson off an 8-4 year where they finished third in their conference, made it to the playoffs again. Thomas Jefferson experienced senior leadership. Stuart Cramer, juniors and below.
Is this a game, do you think, that Stuart Cramer has a shot?
I absolutely do.
Okay, and we were speaking a minute ago because how many games that Stuart Cramer had that was like a 1A schedule, and this is something me and you talked about. How many teams go into this year if you're not an elite team and you try to schedule games that you can win? Because we know how that is. If I can start the year off and I'm going 4-1 or 5-0 to start the year before I ever hit conference play, I've got every one of my kids believing they can win. If you start on the other end of it, then you're going to have a long season. But if you start like they do, and our schedule has Stuart Cramer against Thomas Jefferson, then they got RS Central, then they got an open date, then they go to Bessemer City, Highland Tech before they ever hit the conference schedule. If they can come out of that 2-2,
absolutely.
I think these kids are going to look up and say, you know what, maybe we can win a few games in here, maybe against a Lake Norman Charter, maybe against a Hunter Huss team that is down, maybe a trip over to East Gaston that we might win. So,
and these are all games that are maybes on their schedule.
That's what I'm
Absolute
saying.
maybes. Of course, nothing's a sure thing with Stuart Cramer this year because they've never played a varsity game. We don't know what to expect. Honestly, I'm not real sure how their JV was last year, but I'm sure they won a couple games.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting game. Thomas Jefferson, a 1A school, probably small 1A, I would think.
Oh, yes.
Playing against Stuart Cramer, a much larger school, but inexperienced. So this could be a very interesting game, and we'll find out more about Thomas Jefferson and Stuart Cramer after tonight. So who you pick, Thomas Jefferson or Stuart Cramer? We might differ on this one.
I am going to go with this is scary. I'm going to go with Thomas Jefferson to win by 6. And and it could easily be the opposite way. Stuart Cramer could
always.
By
well,
6.
as we both said, it's an unknown. Well, I'm actually going to differ with you this time around. I'm going to pick Stuart Cramer to win this, only because the difference in the size of the schools. Thomas Jefferson losing to Cherryville and Bessemer City last year. I think Stuart Cramer, although it's their first varsity experience, I think they're going to have more depth, more size, maybe even a little more speed than Thomas Jefferson, although Thomas Jefferson will be more skilled at most of their positions. So this is going to be a really good game. Not neither one of these teams would compete with the South Points, the Forest Views, the Crest, the Shelbys in any manner of speaking. But against each other, this could be a very entertaining football game.
Yes, it could.
All right, about 7 minutes left, and let's move on to the games, what I describe as the others. Not great games because of the talent, but the Bessemer City travels over to North Gaston. North Gaston crushed Bessemer City last year, but Bessemer City coming off a 6-6 year. North Gaston coming off a 6-6 year. I'm thinking North Gaston probably wins this one again, but based on their defense.
Well, as I'm sitting here and we talked to Lewis Carpenter, you got Cedric Mackey. He's going to have to do everything to me for Bessemer City. Don't get me wrong. I know they got some other skilled athletes in other positions, but this is your main threat. Cedric, how many yards can he get? North Gaston, I just think this is an up-and-coming squad. They lead this all-time series 19-8. I'm pretty sure, and I wouldn't bet no money on it, but I'm going to take North Gaston to win by at least 20.
I think I'd have to agree with you. North Gaston would be the favorite here, a 3A team against a small 2A, Bessemer City. And last year, North Gaston kind of blew them away from what I remember right. Mackey is a great running back at Bessemer City, but it's going to take more than that against 9 returning defenders for North Gaston. So I think I agree with you there. North Gaston will win that game. Bunker Hill travels to Cherryville. Cherryville underachieved last year. Bunker Hill came in 8-5. They won some games early in the year and then won some down the stretch. Bunker Hill, Cherryville. Your thoughts?
Well, this is the 19th straight year these two teams have played each other. Bunker Hill has won 14 while Cherryville's won 4. Last year, 51-14.
Bunker Hill.
Bunker Hill. I think this year will be closer. I do think Bunker Hill will still win. I got Bunker Hill winning by 17.
Well, I think both of us. Last year, Cherryville was expected a lot more out of them.
Oh, yes.
They underachieved all year, and then they closed strong to win the conference. But I still think I agree with you that Bunker Hill wins this game. East Rutherford travels to Irwin, and Irwin the last couple of years has been high-flying, throw the ball everywhere. From what I've read, they are going to continue that tradition. They're going to throw it everywhere. Very fast-paced offense. East Rutherford coming off a 4-7 year. Irwin 9-2 and upset in the playoffs, or they felt like they were upset. I don't think East has got a prayer, but that's why we play them.
Well, you're exactly right. I got Asheville Irvin winning by 25.
25. Wow. All right, Lincolnton at North Lincoln. Lincolnton 9-5, although they'll be missing their quarterback and some other players. North Lincoln 4-7 last year. I think this is a no-brainer. Lincolnton, even with their quarterback missing, I think they're going to be the pretty heavy favorite.
I've got Lincoln winning this game. They lead the all-time series 9-1. The only loss that they have was way back in 2006 when, guess who was coaching at North Lincoln? Matt Beam. So there we go. I've got Lincoln winning this game by 17.
RS travels to McDowell. RS coming off a 5-6 year. McDowell 2-9. RS, I think, is excited about their year coming. I know you're not very familiar with RS this year. I know just a little bit that I read. If I had to pick one, it would probably, based on last year's record and returning players, RS had some pretty good skill players last year. They didn't have the line they needed, although they were big. They just didn't have the play they needed to sustain their success. I would pick RS Central to win this one.
I'm going to pick RS Central. McDowell, they went through a couple years ago where they had one of the longest losing streaks in the state. And then they had a good group of guys that come through in the 11th and 12th year, and they've made the playoffs 2 straight years. But then last year they kind of fell behind again. I got RS winning by 10.
All right, St. Stephen's travels to Bandy's. St. Stephen's coming off a 1-10 year, going to face a 5-7 Bandy's. St. Stephen's more well known for their soccer than football.
Yes.
I think Bandy's wins this one, but it could be a much closer game just due to the classification size.
St. Stephen's comes in this game 4-25-1 in openers.
Wow, they've won 4 openers in 30
years. Bandy's has won 17 of the last 18 in this game. In this series, take Bandy's by
easily. You think
21.
Easily? Okay. All right. Well, that's fair. West Lincoln. Now, this is a team that rose to their pinnacle last year. They looked like they were really going to be world beaters. Unfortunately for them, they were in the same conference with Lincolnton, East Lincoln, Maiden. They had a tough conference last year. And this year they're coming off a 7-5 year. They're going to go play a drawn team that was 3-8. This one could be a very well played, or not well played, but very closely contested game.
Well, this is a game that I kind of went to the coach and I asked him, I said, how is drawn? He said, they're young, in which West Lincoln is young except for their O-line and their defensive line. Got Mac George back there. This guy is a beast to have to tackle. And, he's the wrestling state champion in 195 pounds of North Carolina, and he's a hard man to bring down. West Lincoln won last year 28-21 at home. They're going up there. I'm going to take West Lincoln to win. This game is going to be close. I think West Lincoln's going to win by a touchdown, but I'm going to give a lot of hats off because Coach Tom Sane has been at West Lincoln for 4 years. He's won 24 games. There's only one other coach at West Lincoln who had more wins, and that was Brennan Elliott. He won 25 games in 4 years. So, Coach Sane, you're doing a fine job. Just keep it up.
And tonight could be his 25th win, which would tie him for the all-time lead at West Lincoln.
Well, the all-time lead is 58 by Brennan Elliott. I'm talking about out of a 4-year span.
Oh, a 4-year span.
Starting. Tom Sane won 24 games, and Brennan Elliott won 25 in his first 4 years.
All righty. And the last one I had was Pine Lake Prep 0-10 against the Vance JVs. Who the heck cares? Anytime you play a JV team. Getting the white flag waved. Steve, are we ready to wrap her up? All right. Well, we want to thank you folks for joining us today on the KTC Broadcast and Pregame Show brought to you by Witherspoon Insurance. Don't forget, we'll be back next year. Next week.
Yeah.
Next week. And next year, hopefully.
Some people might think we need to be back next year. Yeah.
We'll be back next week to bring you all the pregame information you're going to need. Thanks for joining us. Go to a game. If you can't, don't forget the ktcbroadcasting.com will bring you, 7 games. 6 games tonight in some form or manner. So talk to you next week. Terry Reinhardt, Sam Davis. Take it easy.